I'm getting all these notifications because of the video Christian clip last night of Lee Rue playing well in space, and
Man,
people are like, Chicago needs to trade for like all this stuff. I'm like, hey, back
you guys
off.
already, you know what? Never mind. I mean,
Lee Rue, a
she was
PPA.
already there.
Oh, that's right. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, I mean,
I
I don't, I
totally
don't,
forgot about that.
I don't trust this guy to do these things well, but I don't know.
I mean, that's
That's
half the
that's
that's half the league. I mean,
that's another. Oh yeah, that too. Hey, well, welcome back to the Storm Roundtable. This is different. This is not the post-game report. I am not inside of the press box today. Well, I mean, right now. That's later. Goodness. So yeah, we are 5 games into the season. Seattle is 3-2, which you might see 3-2 and you think, oh, they're only 1 game above 500. But you know, last night's loss came to a Lynx team that, as Christian has said online and also, in our Slack channel, they are a finalist for the reason last year, and they're atop the league right now and a favorite to win the title this year. Um, you know, I I think I'm happier 5 games in than I was like leading into the season, honestly. There's still some questions, and we will certainly get to those questions about this team, but I guess before I start ranting along, Rowan's back. So, Rowan, your thoughts on these first 5 games for the Storm, and I guess where you're at with them, just feelings wise, because again, I know we did that whole long like reaction when the final roster was dropped, and we shared some doubts, and again, we'll get to those individual doubts, but just your thoughts on where they're at, 5 games into the season, and then obviously Christian, we will go to that.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I honestly feel a lot more optimistic after seeing these first 5 games than I did when the roster first came out. I think what's difficult, we've kind of been talking about this, the three of us and on Twitter. It's really difficult when you are going into a season making any statements about how the season is going to go, especially when you have a Storm team that hasn't had Jewel Lloyd in 10 years. It's been 10 seasons of Jewel Lloyd. We felt the same way when, Sue Bird left. It's like we don't know the Storm without them. So I think, coming into this season was a bit of an unknown. And I think that so far, honestly, the people that maybe I had some more questions about have performed better. It's just been a little, not maybe not surprising, but just really interesting to see how everything has come together. I think that like you said, with Minnesota with this game last night, while it was a loss, it is, going to be in the loss column. I think overall it's a net positive. I think, if we're talking about the game against Vegas on Sunday, again, it's difficult because, we're so early in the season and everyone knows how Las Vegas has been these past few years. And, kind of everyone had these high expectations for Las Vegas. And so I was not expecting that game to be such a blowout. But it's really interesting to just see how the Storm team can gel if they can. I think the biggest takeaway that I have so far this season, especially last night, is just the changes that, Noelle Quinn is making to the way that she does things coaching wise and how so far we've seen that be really positive. During the Phoenix game, the first quarter, really the first half, everyone on the bench got on the court. And that was a really big thing for me. I mentioned that, in the post game after that game. Um, the rotations have seemed better. The timing has seemed better. Yesterday they got off to a really bad start, as we know, the 7 turnovers and, the points off of turnovers. And I think last season that would have been the end. That would have been they wouldn't have been able to come back from that. And, did they come back with a win? No. But I think that that is a huge testament to just Noelle Quinn's development and just the way that she's been able to make better in-game adjustments. I know we talked a lot last season, the season before, about how she handled end of game, close game situations poorly. We talked about that a lot. And while we haven't really necessarily seen that as much, I think it is interesting to see that We've seen more in-game adjustments just throughout the game that have usually been positive. And I think that that's a really big growth point from them. And I think that that's showing up in the way that they've been able to play and stay in games, even if they lose. And just overall, you look at their first game against Phoenix, huge loss, and then you can just point to not even a week later how quickly that turnaround was to then, to then beat Phoenix. I think that it's a really good measurement to see how well Noelle's been coaching and the way that she's been using what she has.
Yeah, overall, I mean, touch on Ron's last point, we're talking to coach about it last night after the game, and basically just the first game last year against Minnesota was a 13-point loss. It wasn't really close. I believe they were down by as many as 20. I mean, this game was the complete opposite, the complete 180. As far as, you know, I know it's a loss, but there are a lot of things to take from this game. Like you just said, Noe's rotations. She's actually mentioned that. I can't remember who asked the question. Actually, I think it was Bella, friend of the show, Bella, asking about Noe's rotations and how she was willing to go to different people when they needed it. Like she said, she went to Zaya for defense in the second half. Went to Lexi to try to get to open up the offense. So she's trying. She's putting these players in positions to win. And so far, like Rowan said earlier, there are some players that are at this point 5 games in that are performing a little better than we thought than others. Like coming to the season, we originally thought that Erica Wheeler was going to be a starting shooting guard. Like even off a training camp deal, the way that she performed in the preseason game, just the way everything that we had heard and seen through camp, and just coming to the season, the way she's been performing since. I mean, yeah, she had 21 points, excuse me, in the win over Vegas, but even then, games where she had 6 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds, a steal or two, like those are winning stat. Those are winning factors in turn times of the game, and she's been able to do that a lot, a lot more often than I think anyone really could have said that. Hey, she's going to be probably the third most important player on this roster right now. Um, SE has kind of struggled so far on offense. I mean, she's still, one of the best defensive players in the league as far as on the offensive end. Erica Wheeler has been kind of dynamite. I mean, that if she doesn't hit that 3-pointer at the end of the third quarter, it's not a 3-point game going into the fourth. It's not really that tight without, having to guard someone else. Outside of Skylar last year, even when Jewel was having good games and most of the time was kind of struggling throughout the season, there was only one main guard teams really had to, scheme up defenses for. Teams have to defend Erica Wheeler now. This is the Los Angeles Sparks version of Erica Wheeler that we're seeing late. And that's one of the things that she mentioned that she was so happy to get playing back with Mecca. I mean, that's statistically one of the best years of her career. 13, I think she almost averaged almost 14 points, pretty really good efficiency. So like, I'm not saying that's going to be the case this year, possibly doing minutes, but we're going to get there. But last year, Noe made kind of a half midseason move where she put Jordan Horse in the starting lineup. So, I mean, who's to say that we don't see Erica Wheeler get added up to the slide Gabby back down to the three? I'm not saying that Gabby's not great at the two, but that's not her natural position. And you can see, despite her having good games, she is playing out of position. She's on the ball a lot more than she normally is, which is kind of taking away her kind of advantages moving without the ball and cutting to the rim.
I was just going to add, I mean, I think we also talked about this at the end of the Phoenix game. I mentioned this in my takeaways piece about Phoenix. Like, it's really interesting to see that, like you said, Christian, a lot of the things that maybe we thought going into the season are not what's happening, and it's going well. For example, Gabby Williams shooting the three. You have her, I mean, she made 2 threes last night. She was 2 for 6, so a little bit less efficient than she was in the in a game in the games prior, but she's your best 3-point shooter right now. Obviously, you also have Erica Wheeler and Skylar Diggins, also having 2 threes, which was huge. But when you look overall at the season, I believe I didn't look after the Phoenix game, but she has been your best 3-point shooter so far this season. And again, it's not that we didn't know she couldn't, or we didn't know she could do this, but this has never been her role in Seattle. And so we weren't thinking that going into the season, but it's a pleasant surprise. No one's going to complain, but that's really interesting. And again, with Erica Wheeler, at the beginning of the season, I was thinking, okay, we know that this coaching staff loves their veteran guards. They, love the defensive minded kind of, veteran guards. I thought that that was going to be a bit more of Erica Wheeler's role, but is anyone complaining when you have, someone coming off the bench scoring better than, the person starting in front of them? You're never going to be mad about it. But I know we're going to touch on the starting lineup, so I'm sure.
For
Four
sure.
and a half attempts. That's what Gabby is leading the team with per
All
game.
right.
75%. They have 5 players right now shooting above league average, upwards of 40 plus percent from 3 on at least, I think, a tenth and a half, 2 attempts a game. So, I mean, the production is coming as we thought it would in the platoon. I just didn't think that it would be this efficient. I mean, the 3-pointers have kind of been their weapon this season so far, start the season. So 5 games in, I mean, it's a rough schedule coming up, but even last year, they didn't have to, shoot 50% from 3 or, be 8 of 16, go, make double digits from 3 to really win games. If they could just make 5 or 6 a game, I mean, even then, that's still not really like the top echelon of the league. But that's still just to get the most out of their offense on the interior. That's going to help Dom stretch out her game a little bit more. To see that was happening with the minutes that she's had recently. That's going to help Lee Rue stay on the court a little bit longer. She has a mid-range shot that can ascend the floor. It's basic. So, yeah, it's only 5 games in, but from what I'm seeing so far, they have the bones to do what I thought they could do offensively and get there. You just have to actually get there. But, yeah, I mean, so far, 3-2, they're looking great on that side of the floor, too.
See, Christian was bringing up the numbers on attempts per game, and I was like, damn, he got the exact thing I was looking at. It's obviously early, right? And I'm like, okay, let's look at 3-point percentage in the WNBA. Seattle has 3 of the top 15 players in 3-point percentage right now. Erica Wheeler is at 6th. Granted, she's taken 10 and made 5. She's at 50% clip. So we'll see if that exists. But Gabby's at 13th with 45.5%. Sorry, looking at field goal percentage. And then Skylar is there at 15th with 43.8. Can you guess? Nice little Jade Melbourne there at Melbourne. Sorry, they're at 10. Yeah. We'll always wonder about that trade. Anyway, yeah. No, I mean, you guys brought it up. So that's going to be my next sort of thing. I'm going to write this down so I remember it. With the starting lineup. I mean,
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, were you going to watch the Seattle Storm away games this year?
Away games. Well, Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports. So I was thinking of coming here if that's okay with you.
I think that makes a lot of sense. See you all here.